Okay, so now I get to look at the door. Shall I go out there? Shall we talk about that door here? We're going to talk about that door. I'm not even going to shut my camera off. I don't want you to think there's any funny business going around. What's going on here? Okay, we're going to get... we'll get some light. We'll get some lights on here. I don't know if there's another light here, is there? I don't know what that second... Oh, that second light goes outside. Okay, it's still kind of dark over here, right? Okay, so this is the this is a door that goes outside, out the side of the house. Okay, here's the outside. All right, so what has been happening here is my cousin's been saying that when this door is closed, when it rains, the water hits the door and it's been going right in to the side here. Now I see that they've done some patching here. This had all gotten bad, and they took some water putty or something and they reformed it from here up to there. I think they did a really good job at the time, but it's since slightly cracked out there. There's been some caulking that was put there, and they're saying it's still leaking. How on earth is that possible? I'm thinking the water's coming down through here, going through there, going underneath this threshold, and weeping out. But the other thing is, when you close this door, I don't know. I could see the slight possibility of water going through here, and I see this is going up at an angle, and see this is a metal door. I don't know if you can see that. Well, yeah, you can. There's weather stripping. There's weather stripping underneath this door. Do you see that? Okay. When I feel my hand, see, here's a piece of it that's been ripped off, and I feel underneath here, and it's missing from here this way because it's been rubbing on here back and forth, rub-a-dub-dub, and I can see how this is kind of slightly going up at an angle, and every time they open and close the door, the weather stripping on the bottom of the door here, you can see how it's supposed to work. Okay, but because the door is almost tight there, it's ripped off the weather stripping back and forth, then a piece gets loose. A piece gets loose like this little piece, and then they chop it off, and then another piece. Now why is that? I can't have that, because I know they're going to call me again and they're going to say, Video Joe, it's still leaking. What can you do to help us? Now this door, you hear that? It's metal. Okay? And we look at the side of the door. This little section is wood, and then it's metal clad. When it says metal clad, this whole front is metal. And the whole back, or front and back, is metal. This side is wood, and the other side sticking out is wood. You got to have wood there so that you can screw your hinges on there. Okay, you got to have something wood there. So that's wood. That's why they call it metal clad, meaning it's metal over wood insert. Okay. All right. So when we close this door, I can see a couple things already, and you're gonna have to bear with me. The light in the garage is not very good. I think there's another light over here. I don't know if this is going to give us enough. It might give us a little bit more. But I've seen over time, if you look at the top, you see that gap there? I know it's kind of hard. You're just going to have to bear with me. And the gap here at the top is more than it is over there. What does that mean? That means that means that this door has sagged. And we know it's sagged because the door is barely closing at the bottom edge. Okay? Right where that weather stripping has been rubbing and rubbing and rubbing. So I know, and I look at this, I look at the edge of the door and there's hardly any gap. I mean, there's a nice gap right there, but up here it's a little bit further, isn't it? Up here. So I know first off, I need to fix the sagging door. Now, if you've watched any of my videos, you'll know how I'm probably going to fix a sagging door, right? Even a metal clad door like this, I'm going to take the hinge off, and because I don't want to have any exposed screws. Okay, so I'm going to take this hinge portion off. I'm going to flop that back, then I'm going to drill a hole into the jamb. Okay, right about there. And because this one's close, I'll probably put the other one right about there. I can't really put the screw over here because I'm going to take 2 long screws and drive it into the door jamb, into the wood behind there. I can't really drill a hole here on this one because the drywall inside the garage is probably 5/8 of an inch thick. So from here to about there, there's drywall. If I put a long screw, I don't care how long of a screw you get, it's not going to hit wood, is it? Well, it's not going to do anything. So I've got to put it over there. If I put 2 long screws into there, it's going to, can you see that it's going to suck the door jamb, this portion of the jamb in here, it's going to kind of, it's just going to give it a little bit of a helping hand, some little persuasion as it may, because I don't want to take the door casing off. I don't want to do anything. Okay. Now I've seen some people that they might say, "Oh, VideoJoe, you don't have to do that. Just take a long screw on that one, and that'll be enough. Just take those 2 screws out. These screws going into the jamb are only about 5/8 of an inch long or so. All right, maybe 3/4 of an inch. Just take those and put 2-inch long screws and just ram them in there. That'll do it. Well, it won't do it on most occasions, depending where your shims are along where the door has been installed and been attached and been secured behind here. Because all you're doing is you're taking those 2 screws and you're trying to push this whole thing in from the hinge. You're only pushing the hinge in harder. Can you see if I take the hinge back, flop it back, put 2 long screws and drive them right down into the wood a little bit, 3-inch long screws, that's what I'm going to do, and drive them in there. Can you see that has a better chance of pushing this portion of the jamb from here to here in further than just putting these 2 long screws in there? Do you see what I mean? And I think on most cases you only have to do this top hinge. Okay, you don't necessarily have to do the top hinge and the middle hinge. If, for instance, this doesn't do it all the way, then I may have to take this one out and do the same trick and put 2 screws in that way to take care of that. Now, some people also say, hey, VideoJoe, you don't have to do that. Just bend the knuckles. Bend the knuckles on the hinge knuckles that are attached to the door. And I look at that closely, and I can see it's that the top one, the middle one, and the bottom one are attached to the door. Just take something and tweak this about a 1/16 of an inch that way, and that'll fix the problem too. Yes, it will fix the problem to a certain extent, and I only like to do that as a last case resort. Lots of times my trick here by doing this is a little bit easier to do because you don't necessarily have to take the whole door off. A lot of times, to tweak that, I take the hinge pin out, take the door down, and then do it. Well, I am going to be taking the door down after a while because I want to see about this weather stripping and see how to take that off. Okay, but I'll bend the knuckles. If I try to screw this in tighter, a lot of times that'll work. Okay, worst case scenario, take the whole door down and then tweak these just ever so little and help it persuade this door to do what I want it to do without you know, here's the thing. When I get done with this door, I don't want you to see any marks on this door that, oh yeah, here, VideoJoe did it here. Oh, I see. He put an 8-penny nail right here, a galvanized 8 and a galvanized 8, and he drove them in there, and he took a nail set and he tried to beat it on there, and he missed a couple times. Then he put some white caulking over here, and here's how he fixed it. That's how I used to fix them in the old days, years ago. I would just pop, and be done with it, you know. But I don't want to do that. I don't do that anymore. Okay. So there's what I'm going to do, and that's not the only thing, because like I said, there is weather stripping on here, and if you look really close, it's like, how on earth did they install and did they attach that weather stripping? Well, that weather stripping is a long strip that gets screwed straight up from the bottom, because it's a metal door. That's just how they kind of did it. Whereas lots of wood doors, they don't do it that way. You might have seen a door shoe, like a U-shaped deal that goes down, across, and up, and on the outside it's got a little lip, an apron thing, so that if it rains and it hits your door, it's designed to hit that, to weep the water away from the door edge. This door doesn't have it. Well, that's because it's a metal clad door, and they've done it differently. So I've got to do a few things to this door, don't I? I have to fix the sag, and the sag, here's another thing for the sag. The sag is making it so that the latch, this door latch, is having a hard time clicking in to the door strike. Now, you can't really see it because this strike plate is kind of bowed out, but you can see there's a mark right there. Well, that's not the bottom edge of the door latch. The door latch bottom edge is almost hitting the bottom of that, and I know that if I look at that and I can eyeball that, and I can see where the bottom of that is, and see where it's going. See, it's way below where that white deal is. It sticks down. It sticks down below that white little edge right there. It sticks way down here. It's almost hitting the bottom of that, and it's doing that because the door is sagging and the bottom of the door is almost rubbing. We saw that it was almost hitting the threshold there, and that's what was ripping that weather stripping off, is because the door is sagging. So if I fix the door, if I fix this door sag, it's going to take this, consider this whole door as a rectangle or a box. When I take the box and I lift that side up, what happens to the bottom right? As I go like that, the bottom left where my thumb is, if I'm like that and I move the whole box, the bottom left is going to raise up when this door gets pushed in tighter to that. Isn't that kind of weird how it all works like that? And it'll line up better there. The door latch will line up better. And see, here's the other thing, that when they had the deadbolt in, it's still loose. See, you got to push really super hard to click it. And as you can see, here's the other thing I have to do. Look at this gap here. I almost put my finger in there. Okay, you see that? You're not supposed to have that much of a gap. And you see the air down there? That's because this door is too far away from that edge. Now how are we going to fix that? And up here, it's not as far of a gap as the middle and the bottom, because the door has sagged, and that's made that over further. So first off, I have to fix the door sag like that. Secondly, I want to have this gap less. This gap is supposed to be closer to the door. Let's look at the door going into the house, shall we? Just for sake of example. Okay, now see this one here? This is way too big too. See that? Look at that. The door latch is hardly fitting in there because this gap is so big, my word. And it's not supposed to be like that. It's supposed to be like this door. See the gap? You got about 1/8 of an inch. Look, that's how your gap's supposed to be. Just like that. Look at all these doors. And I've noticed in this particular house, the gap is pretty big. See this? This is way too big. This would not fly at my house. Sorry. And this is a reverse sag. This is not, the door is not sagging. See the gap up at the top? Nice and straight. See the gap right there? That's what you want. But now as you go down, look how big it gets. See there? That's because somehow over time, this door jamb has settled, the floor has settled, something has settled. And in order to fix this, I would have to shim this hinge out, away, and the bottom one. I'd have to shim that out and away to push that over. I mean, I could work in this particular house all day long doing this. Okay, I would check everything. I even know that the one in the bathroom is just the same. And every time I come in here to use the bathroom, I keep telling myself, you know, one of these days I'm gonna fix that for her. See there? See how big the gap is? No, 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 not on my watch. I would never let that fly at my house. See that? The gap is so big. It's hardly allowing this to latch in there. It's still going, but it's bent it, not bent it, but it's wobbled it, and this is more wobbly than it should because it's trying to pull it in at an angle, you know. And so we're gonna fix the one out in the garage, because that one is the one that she asked me to do for the time being. That is the one that is allowing water coming in there when it rains. You see that if I were to move this door over to this door jamb more, it will prevent possibility of less water coming in here, because right now you only have this weather stripping protecting the door by 1/16 of an inch. You see here at the bottom, you see where the edge of the door is. It's almost out to the edge of the weather stripping. Now when this thing wasn't pushed in all the way because of the latch scenario, it's allowing the door to be opened ever so slightly, and the rain hits the door, the wind hits here, and right through there. Along with this should be caulked too. I should get out my caulking gun and caulk that. But in order to get this door over further, I've got to lessen that gap, don't I? I've got to lessen that gap. And dabbity nabbit, I wish there was more light in here. You know, why didn't they just put a light right up here in the ceiling? But see, so when I get this door over further, I'm gonna lessen that gap. How am I gonna do that? Well, after I first I have to fix the door sag. After that, then I'm gonna take the door down. I take the door down, I can mess with the threshold, the weather stripping at the bottom, unscrew that, and I'll probably be taking that to the hardware store, see if I can't match it up. Cross my fingers that one of the hardware stores, the Home Depot or Lowe's, will have something like that in stock. You know, I'm gonna have to run around. Then I'm gonna have to move the hinge portion that is on the door jamb. Okay, I'm gonna take those off, and then I'm gonna use some little screws in there, and I'll show you here in a minute. But I've got to take it's the two knuckles here. That's the portion of the hinge that's screwed onto the door jamb. Okay, these two, not the three, but the two. I'm gonna take that, and I need to move that away, so it's going at a slight angle. Can you see if I can somehow figure out how to do that? It's gonna move the whole door over. Okay, and it has to move over all about the same at each hinge location. What I used to do is undo the hinges, the hinge screws. Well, undo maybe these two, because these are the two that's closest to there, and then take those two out all the way. Then I would loosen those up just a little bit, and then I would take something behind there, like a strip of metal or something, and fold it over and kind of wedge my screwdriver, putty knife in there, wedge this out, put that metal in there, screw it back tight. And then if it didn't work, then I would have to get another piece of metal and fold it over 2 or 3 times. If that was too far, undo the one fold, cut that off so it's only folded over twice or once. You see what I mean? And I would always use that as my shims. Well, I don't do that anymore. I thought, hey, wait a minute. I've been doing it a different way. Okay, so watch this here. I would take this hinge and flop it over back. Okay, I don't necessarily have to take the door down. I can do one at a time. All right, and I might just take one off at a time, because I've got to do it anyways. But either way, I'm going to have to go back and forth. I take this off of here. Then I would put one. I would drill a hole into the wood. I wouldn't just put the screw, because it could split this. Okay, pre-drill a hole right there into the wood with this flopped over. Okay, not through the metal hinge. Okay, right about there. I want kind of close to the outside edge, not too close to where I split this little edge off, but close enough. And I'm going to use those 2 screws as shims. Okay, so this one I could put about right there. This one I could put about there. And I would take 2 screws and screw them almost all the way in, but let the head stick out just a little bit. You see what I mean? Then screw the hinge back in. Now the hinge is coming out at an angle, right? Okay, and I can do all 3 of them the very same way, the very same amount. Have the head of the screws out about the same. Then close the door, and then look at it, and then make a determination. Okay, do I have it pushed over far enough? Okay, I don't have it pushed over far enough. So what would I do with the screws? I would just back them out a little bit, just a hair, just and make sure I have about the same on both of them, and then the same and the same. Do you see what I mean? And then that would move it over. If I put the screw heads in, and I thought, okay, you know, I don't want to get it flush, but I think that's enough. And son of a gun, you think you need to have it out further, but maybe it went too far. Then you have to take the screws and screw them in slightly a little bit more. Do you see what I mean? So then I would be using the screws as my shim. You see? So lots of things going on with this door here. Okay, so follow me along in this project. If you want to learn how to fix a sagging door, how to move a door over, how to reinstall a piece of threshold, weather stripping on a metal clad door, anything like that, you should watch this whole entire video series. I never know what I'm going to say next. And the more you watch, the more you learn. That's just what I tell people. And even if you don't have a sagging door, maybe you don't have a sagging door, but you'll learn something if I show you how to fix a sagging door. Because I tell you, every house I go in, I kid you not, I can find a door that's sagging, that's not working properly, that's maybe rubbing up here at the top or something like that. And now you'll know how to fix a sagging door. Well, if your door's not sagging and you got a big old gap, you're going to know how to fix that. If you only have a gap at the bottom, a reverse sag is what I call it, you'll know how to fix that. And plus, here on these wood doors, on the exterior doors, and especially metal clad door, this will just probably be square to the door, which means I can't have the gap too small, or I could possibly hit the outside edge of this, because on interior doors they put a bevel on here. Usually on exterior doors they do not put a bevel on there. Well, on a garage wood door like that, solid core door going from the house to the garage, usually that has a bevel. But if you have a front door, more times than not, well, on wood doors they have a bevel, okay? But on metal clad doors, usually they don't put a bevel on this, okay? And so then you have to be aware of that. I just fixed one out of condo, and it looked like the gap was bigger than it really was at the top, but that's because this did not have an angle, so I still had to watch the front edge to make sure it wasn't hitting the edge of the door jamb here. And sure enough, I got it fixed, and yes, it was because it was sagging, and it wasn't really sagging that much as though more so that the entire door needed to be shifted over a little bit. It didn't really look sagging that much. It was just too tight. So I did my sagging door trick. Boom, top hinge, middle hinge, bottom hinge, and I got that whole entire door moved over. There's all kinds of stuff you can do to doors without taking the casing off, without messing with the door jambs, without mortising out the hinge pocket. I've done that before too, mortise this out so that the hinge was pushed over further. But then when you open the door, you can see that the hinge is not flush now. It's dive bombed in. Well, that's because I did probably at that point I didn't know to pull this off and put 2 long screws, drive it into the 2x6 or the 2x4 behind there, suck it over, and maybe I didn't have any long screws with me, and I shimmed and I chiseled out the hinge location or something like that. You don't have to do any of that stuff. All the different things that I can do to a door, when I get done with the door, it's like I never even touched the door. You wouldn't even know that I was there. An average Joe fixing a door professionally and getting professional results. That's what I'm going to do with this particular door. Okay? So if you want to watch that, stick around for all the fun. That's all I got for this time. But I'll be back with more videos. And hopefully you learned something. You spent a little time with VideoJoe. You saw what it takes, patience and determination to get something done, a never give up attitude. And if that's you, that's what my videos will show you, how an average Joe is going to fix things around the house to save money. And you're learning it from an average Joe. What could be better than that? Because you can see all the trials and tribulations I go through in order to get something fixed. You'll be able to see how I Joe Guyver certain things in the future. If you choose to continue to watch my videos, you'll learn all that stuff. You'll learn how to save money, keep that money in your pocket. Why pay somebody else when you can do it yourself? Alrighty then.